see there. So I'll get on Fleabay and get myself a little alternator ordered. Dilly dilly. Right, going to give you a top tip of the day. If you're working on the auxiliary belt, you need to remove it on pretty much any 1.9 TDI Golf or Volkswagen range, possibly even into the Audi range. There's a simple thing you can do to gain access if you're working on the auxiliary belt, or indeed you need to take the alternator out. We can see here we haven't got much space. The tensioner for the auxiliary belt is down here, although you can't see it on this shot there. 18mm socket, put it on the end, 6-inch extension, and then you can push the tensioner down to take the belt off. That's easy. Problem is putting it back on, yeah, because you haven't got much room because the filter is in the way. And also, in my case, I needed to take the alternator off to replace it. So rather than trying to take all this top hosing off here, Baron Von hosing, which goes all the way down and under, nightmare of a job, just leave it in place. Fair enough, take them bolts out there, and there, there, and then it gives you a little bit of movement on the pipe. However, the main top tip is this fuel filter. Literally, just grab it underneath like your life depends on it, give it a firm uplift, and move it out the way. And that is it. I mean, look at the amount of space you've got there. You can now see, yep, we've got the belt there. This is where you want to put your 18mm socket on for the tensioner to push down, take the tension off the belt, and that allows you to slip the belt off the alternator pulley and remove it if need be. You can also put a pin in there. I've got the actual pin for this, but you can use a 6mm drill bit. It'll do the same job. But look at the amount of space you've created there just by lifting that fuel filter out the way. Yeah, it's just a bracket fixed on there. The filter housing basically just seats itself on these little lobes here, these little U-lobes, yeah, and rests itself in place. You see it's a little bit rusted wide, sometimes you're a little bit stiff to lift up, but persevere, just give it a good yank and out she'll come. And that will give you lots of space. Dilly dilly. Alternator. Right, one of the simple things which a lot of people don't know, certainly if you're new to the DIY of car mechanics, with alternators they've got a bush on here. I've said bush. Put some WD-40 on or some lubricant, and this bush here is allowed to move in and out of this part of the bracket. So when you're undoing an alternator, if you're taking it out, just undo the bolt a bit. You may not be able to spray any lubricant on there because it might be hard to access. However, get your said hammer, yeah, and tap it in. What that'll do is push the bush back in the way, and then it'll allow it to have free movement within its mounting point. If you don't push that bush in, it'll be stiff to remove it. Now, it's not to say that you can't remove it without pushing the bush in, but it just makes it easier. Certainly for refitting, within the tolerances of engine to engine, certainly if you're putting an aftermarket alternator on, yeah, you will need to push that bush back in to give you that flexibility and movement to allow it to mount easy. Otherwise you'll be chewing on, especially when it's hard, you haven't got much access space within the engine bay. With the alternator out, you can actually take this bolt fully off, or the mounting bolt, yeah. Support the bracket, because you don't want to break the bracket, so support the bracket, yeah, and then push that bush back in, either in a vise or just using a drift and a hammer, yeah. So I've got a drift here. Oh, well, I'm going to get it. So one brass drift, one chop of wood. So support the bracket on the edge of the wood. Simply get your brass drift so it won't damage the metal. So obviously the brass is softer than than the steel. And just simply keep pushing down or knocking down on the bush. And you can see there the bush has pushed quite a way out now. Put some more lubricant on there so when I tighten the bolt up it'll pull it back in. So I've just got to do the same on the other bush now, and that'll mean when I reinstall this, it's going to go in nice and easy. Now the idea is, when I reinstall this and I tighten up on this bolt, the more I tighten up, it'll pull this bush through and then put pressure on the actual mounting point on the engine itself, therefore holding it firmly in place. So do make sure that you push in on the bush. Okay. I'll do that. Let's get this thing installed. Okay, so the mounting bolts are on, top and bottom, all tightened up. Bushes are pulled in, so it's nice and firm. Now it's just a case of trying to get the auxiliary belt back on. So first we've got to make sure that it's mounted on the crankshaft pulley first, which is a little bit awkward. Obviously you can go through the realms of putting it up on the axle stands and taking the bottom access plate off, but that's just extra work for no reason. So just persevere, get it mounted around the bottom pulley. So not that you can see, however, it is mounted around there, so that's fine. Slip it again around the aircon pump pulley, keeping a little bit of tension on it so it doesn't come off the crankshaft pulley. Again, a little bit fiddly, just have a bit of patience and you'll get there, I am sure. There we go. And then around the alternator pulley. Now because we've got that in place, it's keeping the tension off, allowing us to feed this onto the grooves. Just got to get it into the groove. There's a song there somewhere. I think it was Celine Dion sang that one, Get Into the Groove. Just a little bit off on the bottom. There we go. Just check it's on the crankshaft as well properly, which I believe it is. Right, so now we get our 18mm socket. I've actually got a T-bar that's bent, so it's more like a L-bar now. However, it does the perfect job for this. So your 18mm socket on the end there, just push down, release the tension. Drop that in the bottom of the engine bay so you can go fishing again with your magnet, and then release the tension. And as we can see, that is now tensioned up onto the pulley. Oh. Right, I've already done the electrical connections on the back. So we've got the live, and there's a socket on the top there as well, which I've pushed back into place. So that is it. I can just pop that fuel bracket, or fuel housing, fuel filter housing back onto its bracket or mount, and that's it. Alternator replaced. Put on the air intake into the throttle body, and then we're good to start up. Okay, that's the alternator all done, which is great news. So we're now just going to start her up and make sure that she fires on all cylinders and there's no unwanted noises. I mean, that is just the sweetest engine. Dilly dilly. Okay, a bit of cleaning now. So I've sprayed it all with it's basically diluted alloy wheel cleaner. It's about a 4-in-1 mix. Quite strong stuff for alloy. But I've sprayed the engine bay with it. I'm not going to leave it on for too long, and then I'm going to wash it off. Clean all the engine bay. It'll look amazing. And again with the engine cover as well. I've then got the stickers to do. So when it's due a service and when it's due its next cam belt change. Look forward to a sparkly engine bay. Dilly dilly. Okay, so with a bit of a game of blind man's hooker duck, I've managed with my magnet to find the bolt again. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, so yeah, it was just a bit of fishing with a magnet. Yeah, happy days. Happy days. Oh, I've dropped it again. Oh, dilly dilly.